We bet you didn't know that there are dragons in the middle of Nashville. Big dragons. Actually, they're sea serpents, but that's another story for another time. Welcome to the eccentric South, and welcome to the Fannie Dees Park, also known as Dragon Park. Dragon Park is in the Hillsborough Village neighborhood of Nashville, just a block or so over from Vanderbilt University. The park came about because of a conflict between the neighborhood, the city, and the university. See, back in the 1960s and 70s, there was a push towards something called urban renewal. And that focused on investing in neighborhoods and areas that were generally in the middle of the city that had become what was called blighted. And while there may have been some good intentions behind it, local governments used eminent domain laws to take property even when landowners didn't want to sell. Part of the idea behind urban renewal was to create more welcoming communities. But often, the cities and the governments that took part in this forgot about the existing communities that were there. And that's part of what happened in the Hillsborough Village neighborhood. Now, the trick with eminent domain laws is that the government can only take your property if the land is taken for public use, like a park or a university. Many of the neighbors in Hillsborough Village did not want to sell. One of the most vocal of these was Fannie Dees, a nurse who lived with her mother. She was not having it, and she did not want to sell, and eventually quit her nursing job to become a full-time advocate for the neighborhood. Unfortunately, the city and the university eventually won, and while she was permitted to stay in her house, she passed away in March of 1978 under very sad circumstances. Her house, along with the two other remaining houses from the neighborhood, were torn down. Not too long after that, a few of the elected officials decided it would be a good idea to name the park after the woman who fought so hard to keep her neighborhood from being torn down. They eventually brought in Pedro Silva from New York to create the beautiful sea serpent, or the dragon as most people know it. He created the dragon with over 1,000 volunteers. Each of them helped in creating the mosaic, and in one of the pictures, there's actually Ruby Mae Dees standing in front of her house. Over time, the sea serpent has become the dragon, and more people have forgotten the history of how the park came to be. And even fewer people know who Fannie Mae Dees was and how she fought to keep her home and her neighborhood. If you want to hear more about the eccentric South, please consider following us. Hope to see you soon.